Joining us now to react to all of this, O'Leary Ventures Chairman Kevin O'Leary. Kevin, always a pleasure to have you on this show. Push back on a little bit of this for us. You have a lot of voters out there who say that they actually really do care about the climate. I keep hearing the world statistics. 3/4 of emissions comes from eating meat, right? Or whatever they keep spewing. How do you care about the environment, if that's what voters care about, but also do things like you want, a refinery, pure capitalism to solve the market problems without these regulations?
You know, I go back to two words that are ingrained in the psyche and the DNA, right back to the Constitution: independence and security. It applies to everything. It applies to our food source, our food chains. It applies to energy. I don't know how we got politicized when it comes to two of the most important things you have to have for prosperity. You got to have food and you got to have energy. Nobody disputes that, and yet they become, very partisan issues. Let's take the Kerry situation right now. I'm pretty sure, and of course this is a personal opinion, he wishes he could roll back that statement in a very big way. I don't think he checked in with, or his staff didn't check in with the White House. This is not the time to marry this policy with the politics going on months before an election. The support in the rural regions of America for the current administration is almost zero. And this idea of enhancing the cost of farming food in America or making it more expensive when we have inflation on protein, very bad politics, very bad policy. And one other thing I want to add, and this is, I'll blame it on his staff for not doing their research. If you're in the rural areas and you're a farmer or you're a rancher, very often hundreds of thousands, if not millions of your acres are forested or just pasture land. And that is a carbon sink. It absorbs up to 2.5 to 3 tons of carbon per year per acre. Those are things that are very important if Kerry wants to get to carbon neutrality in 2050. There's a massive carbon offset market emerging, and your friend is the farmer, is the landowner, is the rancher. If you alienate them now, they're not going to help you towards getting carbon neutrality. I thought this was so tone deaf and such a bad time that I'm sure he regrets it.
But Kerry has the habit of inadvertently saying what progressives really think, and I think that's what he's actually doing here, which is kind of a gift to the rest of us instead of the usual political language that we get. But the problem I have, Kevin, is he wants to put government in charge of making the world cleaner. And the truth is, the only thing that's ever made the world more efficient is the private ownership, the private means of innovating that actually help us get to the technologies that work better. That's your business. We need the exact opposite of what John Kerry's saying.
Well, I agree with you. Frankly, the constituents, the voter in every state wants sustainability. They want a better climate for their children. All of these things are demanded by the market. Let the market be the market. And you talk about energy. We haven't built a clean refinery since back in the 70s. In 1977 in Louisiana, we have such great technology now, and one of my mandates that I want to invest in is smaller, much more functional, much more productive, much lower emission refineries, and put them in states like Oklahoma, North Dakota, West Virginia, where their pipelines already exist. And that's what I'm going to do, because we will not have energy independence or security just by supplying more oil to the reserves. The strategic reserve is just pure oil. We need to refine it into gas, into jet fuel, into distillates. All of these things require refineries. We don't have them. So we have to really be strategic. We can be clean. We can be more efficient. We can be productive. And we do it with technology and innovation, like you suggested. But a blanket statement that farmers are to blame for climate change is pure political suicide. I guarantee you that.
Kevin, if I could switch gears with you for a moment, I want to talk about the banks, because we've obviously seen 3 regional bank failures, and you've been very outspoken about where you stand on this. The White House now still saying that the financial system is safe and sound. Many people have doubts about that. Listen to this.
Back in March, we did see the failure of 3 banks that are of mid-sized banks, and those were dealt with in a way where depositors never had any question but that they would have access to their deposits. So in that sense, Americans have confidence. The banking regulators took strong actions. We have the tools, and they can be used again. But more broadly, though, the banking system is sound, although we are monitoring very carefully.
It doesn't feel sound. And Kevin, I really have to question whether or not the government would be willing to backstop other regional banks if this contagion continues.
It would be difficult. The FDIC is actually paid for by the banks through their fees. So you pay for them if you're being charged fees, and everybody that uses a bank is being charged fees. It's not big enough to take on every single account, obviously. So what we have to let happen is a continuation of the consolidation of regional banks. Remember, decades ago there were 20,000. Today there's 4,500. I'm going to make the assumption, I've said this multiple times, that 15% of them are managed by idiots, and they will be culled from the market because their balance sheets are upside down, and that's an okay thing. Now, maybe some other bank will buy them, or maybe they'll just fail, but they have to continue to fail because markets call idiot management in every sector, all 11 sectors of the economy. When you're weak and you don't know what you're doing, you get eradicated. We have to let the banking system go through this too. You can't tell me that Jamie Dimon wants to buy every crappy bank in America. I don't want him to do that because I'm a shareholder of JP Morgan. The money's already moving to the money center banks. The smaller banks, at least 15%, will fail. I think in about 5 years, we'll have 800 super regionals left. It's like every other country. England has 300, Canada has 6 or 7, Australia the same thing. This already happened in many countries. We have electronic banking now. We have online banking. We don't need thousands of regional banks. Nobody goes to those regional banks anyways. Ask anybody that's young. They don't even know what those buildings are for anymore.
Yeah, it's funny. I was in the suburbs this weekend, and there were a couple of buildings that were out that used to be regional banks, and we were having this very conversation. You don't need to go to the bank anymore. The next question would be what happens to some of this real estate, especially with the commercial real estate situation. But we are out of time. Kevin, it's great to see you. Thank you so much.
Take care. Thank you.